in the speech that he made a few weeks ago, where he said it's time to eradicate the Sanatan Dharma. Now, Udayinidhi, through his lawyers, was supposed to file this in the form of an affidavit before the Madras High Court. His counsel has not done that just yet. But one thing is clear. There are parts of ancient Tamil texts, and presumably his lawyers will use this as some of the evidentiary basis for his conclusion or for his contention that Sanatan Dharma needs to be eradicated. There are certain ancient Tamil texts and certain portions in those texts which are against the caste system, which are against Manu Smriti, but none of these texts have ever openly advocated against Sanatan Dharma, against Hinduism as we know it. So the question is, A, what is the evidence basis which Udayinidhi came to this contention? And more importantly, if there isn't evidentiary backing for his claim, then has he tied himself up in knots? Has he landed himself in a political spot of bother? We'll get to all of that in just a moment with our guest, but first, the story so far.
I can give you thousands and thousands of books about Sanatana Dharma. If Udayinidhi Stalin reads about it, he will change his mind. Now you have a stupid logic, stupid premise. To defend it, you want to pick up one book, which I don't agree of that book, or thousands of Sanatana Dharma practitioners don't agree with that book.
Still there is opposition to people from other communities going and performing, from Hindu people from other communities, going and performing pujas in temples. Then what is Sanatana? That is Sanatana. Is it not Sanatana? Why should we be not allowed to perform pujas in temples? I was also God's creature.
All right, so let's bring you up to speed with what has been going on inside the Madras High Court, the Sanatana storm that has been happening in the Madras High Court. Now, what the High Court had said in its earlier hearing is what is the research basis, what is the research that has been done to understand what is Sanatan. Now, Udayinidhi says in his defense that he quoted Periyar and B.R. Ambedkar. Periyar, of course, is an iconic Dravidian leader. B.R. Ambedkar, of course, the father of India's constitution. Udayinidhi's contention is that he quoted both these leaders for arriving at this conclusion that Sanatan needs to be eradicated. What the Madras High Court also asked him is to prove the assumption that Sanatan is synonymous with the caste system. Udayinidhi's defense has been that the court must be guided by constitutional morality and not by the morality that any faith places on it. Also, what the Madras High Court asked of him is to submit the full text of the speeches that he made, and like I said, the evidentiary basis, the historic basis for which he made those claims. Udayinidhi's defense is that the court has to judge an issue by the merit of law, not by societal expectations or not by the fact that it might offend a large section of the people. Now, if you were to look at Tamil literature and Tamil history, and you look at some of the ancient texts in the Tamil language, what is the connection and what are the references to Sanatan Dharma? Now, if you look at Tolkapiyam, Tirukkural, these are ancient and well-read Tamil texts, Silapadigaram. They testify to a link between Sanatan and the landmass that is India or Bharat, the landmass all the way from the Himalayas to the Indian Ocean. Now, many acharyas of the Sanatan Dharma, Adi Shankaracharya, for example, was born in Kerala, Ramanujacharya was born in Tamil Nadu, Madhavacharya was born again in Dravidian lands. So many of the Hindu reformist saints were born in Dravidian lands. Shankaracharya, in fact, expounded on the theory that Advaita, which transcended all differences between humans, including difference of whatever varnas they were born into. Shankaracharya's Manisha Panchangam, which says that Brahmins and outcasts are equals. Also, the DMK's own state board class 12 textbook says that the Varnashrama Dharma has been misreported or misinterpreted as something that believes in hierarchies based on the profession that a person does or based on the particular hierarchy that he or she is born into. Now, let's look at the anger against Udayanidhi Stalin's remarks. It continues. In fact, S. Gurumurthy, the editor of Tughlaq and RSS Ideologue, he has tweeted, and this is part of our Motorola India's Best 5G Smartphone Brands tweet of the day. This is what Mr. Gurumurthy has tweeted.
Hello, Moto.
He has tweeted and he has said, and I quote from it, that I can be an MLA, a minister, or a youth wing secretary, and tomorrow I may be not, but being a human is more important, says Udayanidhi Stalin. If he were not Stalin's son, not an MLA, not a minister, who will look at him as a human being? That is what Mr. Gurumurthy has tweeted. So let's get to our big debate. Can Udayanidhi Stalin back his claims that Sanatan needs to be eradicated and that Sanatan is synonymous with the caste system? Can he back those claims, as has been asked of him by the Madras High Court, with research?
Hello, Moto.
All right, so let's go across to our guests. Madhuvanti is member of the BJP. Rahul Ishwar, activist. P. Pulla Rao is a political analyst, and Professor Chandan Gowda is professor at the Institute for Social and Economic Change in Bangalore. Madhuvanti, let me start off by asking you, Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin and of course the Dravidian movement's contention is that they have always been against the caste system, and numerous sort of Hindu scriptures, whether it is Manusmriti, whether it is the Puranas, the Vedas, have sort of inherently systematized the caste system. So when he says Sanatan Dharma must be eradicated, his contention is that the caste system must be eradicated. That is something that anyone would be in agreement with.
Good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists, and wishing you all in advance happy Deepavali. The point here is Sanatan Dharma has nothing to do with the caste system. I do not understand from where Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin has gotten this idea that the caste system, which is Varnashrama Dharma, is connected to Sanatana Dharma. And like you very rightly said some time back in your own opening of the debate, the 12th standard textbooks very clearly state that the Varnashrama Dharma was created based on the jobs that people were given, and there was no discrimination or hierarchy there. In fact, Saint Ramanujacharya went up on top of the temple in Tirukostriyur and shouted out the mantra Om Namo Narayana for all to hear. He never discriminated and said that Om and so forth. And Sanatana Dharma basically means the eternal. It is eternal. It describes and encompasses the entire Hindu philosophy. Varnashrama Dharma is something that is part of this. How can you equate the two? I do not understand this concept. It's like saying Tamil Nadu and Chennai are the same. Tamil Nadu is the state. Chennai is a city in Tamil Nadu. How can you say Tamil Nadu and Chennai are the same?
Okay.
Can you say that? This is as silly as that. Now, and trying to say that I will eradicate Sanatana Dharma from the face of this earth, for a sitting minister to go on a meeting and make a statement like that is highly irresponsible, because when you take an oath as minister, you are supposed to be absolutely secular. You are not supposed to talk ill of any faith. Am I right?
Yeah.
That is what the constitution of this country, one of the founders being B.R. Ambedkar, whom all of them fall at his feet and put statues for, has said. Yes or no? So having said that, why did the minister, Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, go on a meeting and sit there and then stand up and make these statements? I do not understand. He didn't make it as an individual. He made it as a minister. They invited him onto stage, calling out his portfolio and said, please come, Honorable Minister, please come and talk. And that's when he went and spoke. No, you can't suddenly say, I have spoken as an individual, I didn't speak on as a minister, and then not understanding what Sanatana is versus Varnashrama and comparing the two.
Okay.
And finally, I would just like to ask one final question. Will Udayanidhi Stalin ask his mother, Srimati Durga Stalin, who is a practicing Sanatani, and tell her that he is going to eradicate Sanatana Dharma, which means she has to stop prayer? Please, I need an answer.
Okay, so let me ask Rahul Ishwar. The contention by not just Udayanidhi Stalin, but there is a whole Dravidian school of thought which says that one of the integral texts of Sanatana Dharma is the Manusmriti, and the Manusmriti sort of has divisions of people basis their birth. The Brahmins are the highest echelons of that, then the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras. This is an inherent reality of Indian society, not just 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, but even today. So their contention is that this is inherent to Sanatan Dharma and therefore it is discriminatory, and that is what needs to be eradicated. That's what Udayanidhi Stalin is also saying.
Zaka, two submissions. I am a Sanatana Dharmi, a practicing Hindu and a Hindu activist. Our culture, civilization is glorious and it has given birth to greats, legends like Rishis or Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi. There might have been some bad elements that crept up through the centuries like casteism. But like Madhuantiji rightly said, casteism is not Sanatana Dharma. There might be such wrong elements in every community, every faith and every religion. And people from the great reformers from South, the great reformers from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, or all over India have worked to eradicate any kind of negativity, because just like the iron gets rust, any community or faith is subjected to gradual issues and it has to be reformed. What Udayanidhi Stalin said wrong is he mentioned the entire Sanatana Dharma, stereotype Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism, and he used words like eradication. He used words like dengue, malaria or AIDS, and he was using words like corona to equate to a faith. Can we even think of using such a word with Holy Christianity or Holy Islam?
Yeah.
Whenever I say, I always make it a point to mention positive adjectives to them, because that is the Indian culture of respecting every faith and culture. So Udayanidhi Stalin has ventured into an area of hate speech, which can even come under 153A, and he has ventured into 295. And being a responsible political leader, he should not have ever said that. And as a Keralite Malayali, I would like to point out his mother Durgama, which we respectfully Durga, the mother of Stalin, came to Guruvayur and offered a gold crown to Guruvayurappa worth almost 1.5 million rupees. So the Sanatana Dharma, the Hinduism, the temple culture, civilization is all around Tamil Nadu and all over India. Tamil Nadu is a cradle of temples. Tamil Nadu is a land where you have maximum number of temples. So it has become fashionable to abuse Hinduism. And please, I'll conclude with just one submission. Please, the intellectual class or the left liberals, they should not confuse Hindu phobia with any kind of progressiveness. Many people are Hindu phobic, and Hindu phobia has been casually passed on as being liberal, being modern, being progressive, being so-called intellectual. This is very wrong.
Let me ask Professor Chandan Gowda, and I think Rahul has a point. I think there are about 45,000 temples across Tamil Nadu. It's a very deeply religious society. People are deeply religious there. But at the same time, I think one of the points he made, which I think is valid, it's not like there is no caste system in Islam or in Christianity. There are Dalit Christians, there are Pasmanda Muslims. Could an Udayanidhi or any politician in this country for that matter have said about the caste system in these so-called monotheistic religions and got away with it? I mean, why should the standard be different when it comes to attacking Hindu religion and whatever social ills there may be in that religion, as opposed to, could you have the same sort of this thing, could he have said the same thing about caste system within Islam or in Christianity?
Zaka, I think we are making a mistake when we say he doesn't have the guts to do that vis-a-vis other religions. The fact is, in the popular imagination, in the Indian public imagination, caste is something that is seen to exist only in Hindu religion, right? In fact, it's only now that the activists for Pasmanda, the movement activists, and the Dalit Christian movement, they have been trying to say, no, caste exists even here too. So if Udayanidhi Maran is not talking about it, it's completely because caste is identified exclusively with Hinduism. I don't think he fears, ruffling feathers on the other side. It's really the commonsensical notion that caste exists only among Hindus. So I would give him the benefit of doubt on this one. What's the other question you asked, Zaka? Just respond to the other.
One is this, he or any politician for that matter wouldn't say anything about the caste system in other religions, but somehow attacking the Hindu system for social ills is kosher. That is one part of it. The second part of it is, though the Dravidian ideology may have been founded on rational and no idol worship and so on and so forth, at the end of the day, it is a highly religious society. There are 45,000 temples in that state. It's one of the most deeply religious societies anywhere in this country. So isn't it insulting that the chief minister's son, the heir apparent as he is, sort of insults the majority community in that state just because the ideology he believes in was founded on rationalism and no idol worship and so on? You know, you're free to believe in that, but then you don't offend the majority in that state.
Zaka, if you were to ask him, if you listen to the lawyers petitioning in the court yesterday, they are making a distinction between Hinduism that existed in Tamil Nadu, that they say was pre-Aryan, it's pre-Vedic, it is a different religion altogether, and they feel Sanatan Dharma is not part of that. And this is a distinction that they are making, which the BJP denies exists. But this is a distinction that's been going on for more than a century now. Ambedkar made the distinction, others also have made it. So we are on very difficult terrain here. Can you talk of Hinduism without talking of caste is a question that social scientists have still not been able to answer.
No, this is again a contention that's made not just by Udayanidhi or followers of the Dravidian thought. I believe I'm told, and I'll ask Mr. Pulla Rao this. The actor Kamal Haasan was asked this in the context of a movie that had released last year by Mani Ratnam. It was about the Chola Empire, and he was asked this question about Hinduism, and he said, during the Chola Empire there was no Hinduism. There was either Shaivism, there were followers of Shiva, and there was Vaishnavism, there were followers of Vishnu. His contention is that the word Hindu did not exist at that time. So I'm asking you, Dr. Pulla Rao, then what are the followers of Shiva? What are the followers of Vishnu? They are not Christian or Muslim, they are Hindu. The coinage of that term may have been later on, but the fact that they belong to the Hindu faith because they are worshipping Hindu gods, and the Cholas were worshippers of Hindu gods, that doesn't mean that no Hinduism existed during the Chola dynasty.
Zaka?
Mr. Pulla Rao,
the immediate issue here is what the court has said to Udayanidhi Stalin. Show me your research. I want to see your research. I think the court has perhaps faltered in making this issue, because Udayanidhi Stalin has already said, I based it on what I read from Dr. Ambedkar or Periyar or some other text. There's nothing wrong. That's the basis of his research. That's the basis, those are the primary sources that he has quoted. He need not go beyond that. Perhaps, as you have said, the evolution of Hinduism, or Hinduism as it exists today, or earlier, that's a big subject for discussion, much bigger. Right here, I think he has a very easy answer. Not only is he protected by Article 19 of the Constitution, freedom of speech, he will simply say, these are my sources. The court then cannot say these are not good sources or bad sources. Then will the court go into the sources and say those sources are not correct?
No. One second. Dr. Rao, there is a fundamental problem there, and that is that Article 19 is not limitless. Freedom of expression is not limitless. It is bound.
Speech is not hate speech.
Yes, it is bound within reasonable restrictions, which includes no incitement to violence, not insulting people of another faith, so on and so forth. So he can't say I'm protected under Article 19, therefore I can say whatever defamatory thing about a group of people.
It is going on. In this country, you have so much access. In this country, the definition has been taken to be very broad. Has there any court which has said that your speech is limited? It doesn't apply to Udayanidhi Stalin anyway. Anybody says anything they like. Mr. Nitish Kumar, a much senior man, said something the other day which offended people. Did any court come and say strike it down? So yes, you're right. There may be some limits, but those limits are not being codified. There is no code for that. That a politician can't say this, a minister can't say that, an MP can't say this. Even outside the house, he can't say there's no code.
No.
Let us be very frank about it.
No, there may not be any code, but I think it's very clear. You can't incite violence. You can't spread enmity or hatred amongst groups. This is very well codified in the law.
I may not agree with him,
what reasonable restrictions are there is very, very clearly outlined in the law.
No, in the context of Tamil Nadu, have not these arguments been going on for nearly 100 years? Is it something that he has said which is very original? What I am trying to say is, I may agree with him, I may not agree with him. But from the point of freedom of speech and evolution, This has been being talked in Tamil Nadu for the last 70 years, 100 years. If
Okay.
you go to the Justice Party. And nothing has changed.
Madhu-
Nothing has changed. Why are they so excited?
Madhuvanti
that's
wants to
what
a
I
quick
think.
rebuttal, and then I
Yes,
want to come to
that's
the second
something.
part of this debate as well. Yes, quickly, ma'am. Yeah.
No, just a quick answer to Mr. Pularao. He says that Article 19 is limitless. Then how come these limits were shown to Nupur Sharma? How can you justify that then? There is a code of conduct.
No,
there
it
is a
is
limit.
limitless.
You have to understand that you cannot
There is
speak
no
against
limit.
any religion
I
and
want somebody to
disrupt
show
and
me the
upset
limit.
people who
See
believe
the
in
kind
that
of-
faith. How is it that the rule changes for one person to from one person to one person? Does Mr. Pularao have an answer for that?
Yes, I have an answer for you. Why is it? Have you seen the witch operation which is going on in some states like Telangana, Andhra and Bengal? Why has no court stopped it? I'd be very happy if they stopped it. Why did they not enter this arena where politicians are in the crossfire of politicians, this party or that party? The worst things are being said. Why has no court stopped it? I'll be very happy if they stopped it. Why did they not stop it?
Mr. Pularao,
That's what I want to ask you.
Mr. Pularao,
Because
I
there's
think
no
the
court.
point that Madhuvanti
one
is making
permission.
and our
Hate speech
viewers,
anywhere.
which our viewers will also, I think, find intriguing, is that just because in certain religions there is this concept of blasphemy, you can't say anything against that God, that becomes automatically defamatory and there are criminal charges pressed against the person who says that. Whereas in Hinduism, there isn't the concept of blasphemy that anybody can say anything and get away with it. That double standard, I think, is what is being questioned. But be that as
Absolutely.
it may. Be that as it may, I want to move to the second part of the debate, which is also very interesting. This involves the political figure on the other side of the spectrum of Udayanidhi Stalin. This is the BJP state president, Mr. Annamalai. This is ongoing row. And he, in fact, started this a few days ago as part of his yatra, where he said initially that all Periyar statues outside temples will be removed. Now, subsequently, after a backlash to that, Mr. Annamalai has issued a clarification saying that he is sort of clarifying on his comments, saying that after coming to power, instead of removing all Periyar statues, what they would remove is all flag posts, all notice boards, all statues of not just Periyar but other anti-religious icons that are placed in front of temples, and instead they will remove that and move that to another location. The state BJP president had earlier faced flack from the DMK, the ADMK also, which used to be allies with the BJP up until a few weeks ago, where they said that the people of Tamil Nadu would never let someone govern them after making such a statement. So let me then put that to Madhuvanti. You know, the fact that your state president has had to sort of walk back on some of those comments. Initially, he said, we'll remove all the statues outside temples. And then he said, no, we'll remove it and place it in some other location. You know, this is the fundamental, almost identity fight that your party has to define for itself in the state of Tamil Nadu. Yes, you can rail and rant against Periyar, you can call him anti-Brahmin, you can call him anti-Hindu, but fact is that he is seen as a social justice icon in that state. So neither can you disown him, nor can you own him. So what do you do?
Nobody wants to disown anybody. Last of all, Periyar. That is not what our state president mentioned. I don't think many people saw the entire speech that he gave outside the temple Gopuram of Srirangam. I think it has just been misquoted as always, because our state president gets misquoted left, right and center, not that he cares. But the point being here that he categorically said that the inscription that was there below this particular statue, or any statue for that matter, that says when somebody enters a temple alone, only temple, please mark my point, they have an inscription that says a person who believes in God is an idiot, is a fool. Kadavulai nambuvavan muttal. This is the Tamil translation I'm giving you to what is there in that inscription. This is what he is against. He has no problem in having any statues where they belong, where they need to be kept. Annamalai ji has not gone on a spree saying, I'm going to remove every Periyar statue across Tamil Nadu. No. What he clearly mentions is, why is it that there is a statue and there is an inscription below that statue that says, people who believe in God are fools, especially only outside Hindu places of worship.
No,
how come you don't find this in
Madhuvanti,
outside churches or mosques?
The issue is that, you know, this may be a specific instance, but I've heard this quote being attributed to him below statues that are not outside temples also. The issue is not statue or no statue. The issue is, you know, are you against Periyar and what he stood for and all the comments that he's made, and you're well within your right to say he's anti-Hindu, anti-Brahmin. He has made those comments, no doubt about it.
He has made those
or
comments.
You say that he is a social justice icon of Tamil Nadu and needs to be recognized as such.
1 minute. The point is not about whether we are anti-Periyar or pro-Periyar. The point is, when there is a Hindu faith and there is a Hindu temple, hitting against the faith of the so many lakhs of people in Tamil Nadu who believe in Hinduism, who believe in temple worship, is the point here. That is the premise here.
So then openly say that you don't believe in Periyarism. You don't think that he's an icon worthy of the status that he's given. Say that openly.
That is for Annamalai to say.
I'm not interested in Annamalai the person. I'm asking you, BJP as a party. This is your fundamental sort of fight, the framing of what you stand for in that state. Are you against Periyarism? Are you against...
Nobody's... 1 minute. Let us not go into this against Periyarism, pro-Periyarism. That is not the topic of discussion at all, sir. The topic of discussion here is, why did Annamalai make a statement saying, I'm going to remove all statues?
Correct.
The point is, he never said, I'm going to remove all statues across Tamil Nadu. He said, I'm going to remove statues that have inscriptions saying people who believe in God are fools, especially the statues outside Hindu places of worship, because there is a discrimination towards Hinduism in this state.
No.
Now
so
that is
Rahul Ishwar, here again, the double standards. I'm upfront saying that Periyar has said, and this is part of historical record. He says, if you see a Brahmin and you see a thief, you hit the Brahmin first. He has said this. Nobody contends this. But the problem is that as a political party, you have to make up your mind as to whether you are against all of what he said, and therefore you don't believe what he said, and therefore he does not deserve the kind of place and the adulation and the pride of place that he's given as part of the Dravidian sort of ecosystem or the Dravidian worldview. Or this whole thing about we'll remove statues that are outside temples and we'll keep it somewhere else. I mean, that's just wishy-washy.
Saka, 3 quick submissions. 1, history is complex, multi-layered. There are no heroes and villains. There are real-life people with many shades. Second, as a Brahmin and as a practicing Hindu activist, if ever I could meet Periyar on an imaginary scale, I would touch his feet and ask for apologies. Because history says Periyar was ill-treated when he went to Kashi, and that's how he went to have food in a particular place where Brahmins were there, and he was pushed. And that's how Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar, even his name is Ramaswamy Naikar, turned against Brahmins and Hinduism. Maybe we have done mistakes in our past. That was the attitude of people like Mahatma Gandhi. I'm a Gandhian Hindu, where Mahatma Gandhi even invited Periyar to come to Kerala for temple entry agitations. There were mistakes of the past that happened. Yes, Periyar even in 1973 has even called on extreme measures against the Brahmin community, but things have passed. It's time to make peace with Periyar in the right way. And he has done great contribution to Tamil Nadu, Dravidian movement, and social justice. There is no denying that. But at the same point of time, we need to see it in a very nuanced way. There are some calls for violence which could have been avoided. Maybe he did that out of extreme some kind of thing. So right now, the attitude of people, even in BJP or Hindu community or Brahmin community, respects Periyar. At the same point of time, they have nuanced difference of opinion. That should be the right thing. See, they are historic icons. They are our forefathers. So we should respect them with difference of opinion. That should be the right attitude. And I believe Annamalai ji have that nuance point where this kind of particular writing is offensive for believers. At the same point of time, Periyar should be respected. So there is a nuanced, multi-layered approach that should be there.
So Chandan Gowda, if the nuanced, multi-layered approach is only coming from a particular worldview or a particular ideology, and the other side is basically saying, oh no, we need to eradicate what those guys believe in, where is the nuance on that side? The whole thing starts from this conference that was organized by Dravidian groups which said eradicate Sanatan. That's where Udayinidhi Stalin went and said that it's like cholera, dengue, malaria. There's no treatment for it. It has to be eradicated. Now, either you come to the conclusion that, okay, we live in a multicultural society, as Professor Rao said, there's Article 19, you can say whatever you want, as uncomfortable as it may be to me, but the starting point for the other side is eradicate what those guys believe in. That can't be a starting point.
Dr. Very quickly, the Periyar quote, he began all his speeches with that quote, and he was saying there is no God. And he's not saying there is no Hindu God. So, this goes back to the initial question. When he's denying God across the board. So he's not confining it specifically to any particular faith. He's an atheist. Be that as it may, the other question that you just raised, again, I'll stand, Udayanidhi Stalin comes from a lower caste background. His mother may be a devout, a worshipper, but he has a right to feel angry about the fact that he's grown up in a lower caste community, and that means psychologically a lot of, stressful
But
things.
Professor Gowda, he is the son of
With
the
due
chief
respect,
minister.
he's
No,
not
one
the
second,
most
hang on,
influential
please.
family.
Let's
Dhaka,
not, no,
all the
hang
wealth in
on.
the world will not make-
He was born with nothing against him personally, but the
Right.
fact is, he is the chief minister's son. His family has been in politics for the last 3 generations. I think it would be absolutely accurate to say he was born with a silver spoon.
Diamond
I mean,
spoon.
come on.
Diamond
To,
spoon.
But
to say
the
that
whole
he
world does not
felt the humiliation of the
silver,
caste system,
diamond
I don't think that's accurate at
Dhaka.
all.
Zaka, all the money in the world will not elevate your caste status. I mean, this is the thing about caste, which is why people have, argued against it for so long. It is a stubborn problem. Anyway, let's give him a chance to explain himself in the court.
Yeah.
But I think we sometimes can be very literal. There is, in Tamil Nadu, politics is marked by a high degree of polemics, and this is Dravidian political culture for you, Zaka. We
Okay.
can't be literal about how we understand these things. When he says eradicate,
I
he's showing the intensity of anger.
come back to this whole point. I'm not even stressing on this, Professor Pollarao. I'll give you the final word. Though Periyar may have been an atheist, a rationalist, did not believe in God, and I think that's true of Karunanidhi as well. But fact is that their immediate family members are all people who believe. Stalin has said this on numerous public forums that his wife goes to the temple and he doesn't stop her, right?
Yes.
The point is, the Hindu side, the BJP side can argue, isn't that blatant double standards? Because one of the foundational tenets of Dravidianism is rational thought, that you don't believe that God exists, that you are atheist, right? Half the DMK doesn't believe in that, right? DMK folks go to temples, as do AIDMK folks. Both of them have originated from the Dravidian ideology and the Dravidian thought. Now, my point is that why shouldn't the BJP side or the Hindu side call that out as a double standard? Just as, and this is my problem with what Madhuvanti was arguing, just as the DMK and the Dravidian guys call out Annamalai for saying on one day you say I'm going to remove all Periyar statues and the second day you walk back because of the backlash. Both are unacceptable.
No, he didn't walk back.
Anyway, well, let's agree to disagree.
No, he didn't walk back. We can agree to disagree.
Dr. Pollarao, yeah.
You see, basically, I am really surprised. Everybody knows that Periyar has been equally condemnatory of all religions. He has not only he has said, I don't believe in God, I don't do this, I don't do that. He has not, perhaps being more Hindus there, we naturally take more offense. And the other thing which Mrs. Madhuvati must agree is, have people listened to Periyar and stopped going to the temples there? Has the statue made any difference? I think you should understand in the larger context that Hinduism is a very tolerant religion, and the man there says don't go inside, and people, lakhs of them are going. You yourself have mentioned there are 50,000 temples in Tamil Nadu. I am told the official figure is 60,000.
Yeah.
Has temple visits fallen or they've gone increased? I think Mr. Annamalai being, of course, I respect him and all his activism, but I think he's taking a wrong target. He's giving too much importance to things which have already been there, and once you ignore them, they are forgotten.
Okay.
Maybe he has to pick up some more. I would definitely say he requires, as you say, says something, then walks back a little bit or goes sideways. Maybe he needs a little more gestation period of the politician to shape up.
Madhuvanti, I'll give you the final word to respond. I've got a minute to wrap up in response to what Dr. Pollarao said. Yeah.
I couldn't hear him the last part. Could you just tell me what he said? Because
No, he said that he needs to pick up, your party president needs to pick up issues that actually matter to the people and not, which statue should be outside which temple or which statue
then
should
I
be
would
where,
only
yeah.
like to then I would only like to say that the Honorable Minister for Sports and Youth Welfare should worry about the law and safety and TASMAC problems in Tamil Nadu and not worry about eradicating Sanatan Dharma, which is eternal.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to all our guests for joining us. Like I said, they are supposed to file this in the form of an affidavit in the Madras High Court, and basis that, the High Court will take it up in the next hearing as to what is the evidentiary backing for Udayanidhi Stalin's claim that Sanatana Dharma needs to be eradicated because it is intertwined with the caste system and the inequities therein. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, Israel-Hamas war is raging on. It's been over a month now. We decode the geopolitical power play that's happening in the wider region, particularly from Turkey, which wants to be a power player, the moves that have recently been made by Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and what this may mean for the wider region. Also, what kind of impact this is having in the United States and its domestic election cycle. 2024 is an election year. Biden is finding it tough because it's not just the domestic issues that he needs to worry about, but the Israel-Hamas war is also taking a toll. A lot of Democrats or Democrat-leaning voters are against this war and are putting pressure on Biden. Does that mean advantage Donald Trump? That's on the other side of this quick break.
Hello, Moto.
Convictions that I firmly believe in. I raised them at the party platform, and to be honest with you, I think the AICC and central leadership was very cognizant of the fact that these are very, very important issues, and that is the reason today BJP is now helpless. They were not even able to raise issues that they should have raised as an opposition. So I am saying that Rajasthan will see a change of events. 30-year tradition of 5 years BJP, 5-year Congress, that will come to an end. The Congress party will come back with a greater mandate than we had last time. So this 30-year tradition is about to break, and Congress party will form a majority government in Rajasthan.
Okay, you talked about young faces being given a chance. You're young. I mean, why should you not be seen as the next chief minister should the Congress party come to power here? Or have you pulled yourself out of that race?
I don't think anybody is in the race or being pulled out of the race. Once we get a majority, then the MLAs will sit down and pass a resolution authorizing the leadership in Delhi to decide. That is the practice, the tradition and the custom of the Congress party, not just in Rajasthan, in all the states that go to polls for decades together. There's nothing new. I'm not stating something that's not known. First, let's get the majority, let's win this election, and then the MLAs and leadership will decide. The people's voices will be heard, MLAs will give opinion, and the ultimate decision lies with the AICC. In 2018, when I was party president, we won the elections, and we authorized the Congress president to choose who the next chief minister will be. Exactly the same thing will happen this time also.
Okay, so two quick questions. One, of course, is of those FEMA charges and all of that against Vaibhav Gehlot. You think that's a political bitch hunt as a chief minister?
100%. 12 saal purana case, just before the eve of the elections, you start issuing notices. 95% of all people interrogated, raided or given notices by the ED are from the opposition. And Rajasthan also, when the election code of conduct is in place, to then start raiding leaders of the Congress party and giving notices is purely politically motivated. When they see that we can't win the elections directly, they use agencies to intervene and divert the minds of the people. It won't work though.
But Pradhan Mantri har rally mein makes the point कि ये लोग दोनों इतना आपस में लड़ते हुए थे कि कांग्रेस ने कुछ governance, you were not able to provide any governance to a state.
But who's that to decide? हमने governance दिया कि नहीं दिया, हमने अच्छा काम किया कि नहीं किया, that the only judge is the people of the state.
But you're giving an issue to the plateau to the Prime Minister also to hit out at you.
The PM, leaders of the BJP will come, but they were campaigning in Karnataka also, they campaigned in Himachal Pradesh also, the Congress party won. It's wrong to say that the campaign will lead to loss or victory. The 5 years that we have done, and nationally also, there is a change of mood. Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra actually has electrified the workers across the country. And I'm telling you today that the BJP also has lost its sheen. Being 10 years in power, have not been able to deliver on most of the promises they made. So people are all looking for an alternative. And if the Congress party is to do well, it has to win state elections. If Congress party does well, the India Alliance does well. And that's why 24 Lok Sabha elections will be crucial, because once we win these states, we'll be in a position to defeat
Are you looking at yourself at a national picture after these elections are over? Would you want to contest Lok Sabha?
I have been, whatever task I've been assigned for 23, 24 years, I have done with utmost honesty. Delhi, Jaipur, Assembly, Parliament, government, organization. I've been blessed and lucky to have all these opportunities. Now, whatever the party wants me to do in the future, that decision I will follow without any problem. And as far as Rajasthan is concerned, who will occupy what position, that decision lies with the Congress party leadership. And I speak for everybody in the state, with no exception, that whatever the party decides in Delhi will be happily.
I hope this has come as a reminder that what is irking people more, the attitude of the Aam Aadmi Party and the Delhi and Punjab governments, who were for the last 1 week denying the impact of farm fires in Punjab over what is transpiring in Delhi.
You see, viewers, I am comparing terror with terror. I am not comparing apples with oranges. I am comparing terrorists with terrorists. We don't want to do that because we are bothered about vote banks.
Gurpatwant Panun is at it again. The global terrorist continues to spew hate against Bharat from foreign soil, and this time he's gone a step further and asked Sikhs not to fly Air India on the 19th of November onwards, calling for a global blockade of the airline from Vancouver to London.
Is that how you explain that educated women have a better shot at population control using the words that the Chief Minister used yesterday in the Assembly? That's the way to describe it.
In such a graphic way.
I agree that the words chosen by him were not appropriate.
Former US President Donald Trump holds a significant edge over incumbent President Joe Biden in at least 4 key swing states, according to the latest polling from the New York Times and Siena College. In Nevada, a state which Biden won narrowly in the 2020 presidential election, Trump boasts a 52% to Biden's 41%. That is an 11 percentage lead, which can trounce any opponent in any election. Trump also leads Biden in Georgia, a state that was central to him trying to cast doubts on the results of the 2020 presidential election. In fact, one of the criminal indictments that Trump currently faces is in Georgia, where it is alleged that he pressurized state officials to try to overturn the results. In this state, Trump has 49% to Biden's 43%. Trump also leads Biden in Arizona with 49% to Biden's 44%. In Michigan, another swing state, Trump holds a 5-point lead there as well, 48 to 43%. The latest battleground state polling underscores the considerable challenges facing Joe Biden's re-election bid, top of which are low job approval ratings. His ratings are in the low 30s, somewhere just as bad as what George W. Bush had faced in the later years of the Iraq War. Biden also faces questions about his age, about his mental ability to steer the country amidst all the global challenges that he has on his plate. The poll results are particularly striking for Biden given the mounting legal troubles that former President Donald Trump faces. Trump, in fact, faces multiple legal cases across the country. He's got 90-odd criminal charges. There are 4 indictments. He's, of course, pleaded not guilty to all the charges. And one factor that is contributing to Biden's unpopularity is the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. American presidents have had a tough time going into re-election year with an ongoing war. Richard Nixon found that out the hard way during the Vietnam War in the 1960s. George W. Bush was deeply unpopular during the Iraq War, and although he did manage to win re-election in 2004, one of the biggest reasons why Obama, a rank outsider, won in 2008 was because he was one of the only few Democrat senators at that time who had voted against the war. Biden did botch up the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, but now he has to preside over not just one, but 2 wars. The latest one in Gaza between Israel and Hamas, and of course the ongoing one between Russia and Ukraine, which many now are calling the forgotten. It also has real-world consequences. The Gaza war, for example, has forced the United States to divert both time and resources away from Ukraine. In some cases, there is direct competition for ammunition between Israel and Ukraine. Ukraine has been desperately short of mortar shells. It's also now competing with Israel for scarce supplies. It also requires air defense systems, which are needed by both countries, in fact. The West is already finding it hard to rally global support for Ukraine, and that is now getting further depleted by the widespread anger in the global South about American support for Israel. Countries are now openly asking about America's double standards, comparing its response to both these wars. The Western argument that Russia is committing war crimes in Ukraine is now being met with snide retorts, something like this: what about Israel? What about America's favorite ally and what it's doing in Gaza? Are those not war crimes too? There is growing danger that Russia will gain the initiative in the war with Ukraine over the coming year. In the Middle East, there was some tentative optimism earlier that was fostered by the Abraham peace accords between Israel and some of its Arab neighbors. That is now pretty much dead in the water after the Israeli invasion of Gaza. A wider Middle East war is now looking increasingly likely, something that the United States is desperate to avoid. These developments come at a time when the Ukraine war itself was faltering. The Kiev government's counteroffensive has largely failed. Vladimir Zelensky, Ukraine's president, has angrily dismissed the idea that the war has turned into some kind of a stalemate for Ukraine. He's even blasted one of his top generals for saying so. Russia could use the stalemate to press on the offensive. Russia has turned itself into a war economy. It'll probably have a growing edge both in arms as well as troop numbers going into 2024. Russian forces are likely to hammer Ukrainian cities once again over the coming months. A battered Ukraine remains heavily dependent on the West for both military aid and financial support. But Kiev's Western backers have failed to ramp up their weapons production to match the Russian war machine. Meanwhile, continued funding for Ukraine has got stuck in the US Congress. The mood on Capitol Hill is definitely turning against further opening up the purse for Ukraine. Across the political divide, lawmakers are backing Israel in its war effort in a way that they are loath to doing for Ukraine. Vladimir Putin has even more reason to keep fighting harder over the next year, given the growing prospect that Donald Trump will return to the White House, and once that happens, he's just going to abandon Ukraine to its fate. A Trump victory has become more likely because of the Gaza conflict. Biden needs younger voters, progressive voters, and Arab Americans to turn out in large numbers and vote for him. And these are the exact same people who've been out protesting both on university campuses and outside Capitol Hill. Many of these Democrat or Democrat-leaning voters are furious about the Biden administration's support for Israel. A good number of American Jews who are also Democrats are dead against Netanyahu. Biden now is in the danger of becoming the unintended victim of all the heat that is directed at his friend Bibi. If these liberal and progressive voters stay at home, then this election could tip towards Trump. Biden also faces the prospect which only incumbent Democrat presidents face, and that is he cannot afford to be seen as not fully supportive of Israel, America's closest ally, in an election year. Unlike the Democrats who are divided, the Republicans are solidly rallying behind Israel. Biden will get roasted by the other side, the Republicans, if he is seen as wavering in his support for Israel. The intense global spotlight on Israel and Gaza may also be providing cover for other human rights abuses to take place. In fact, in recent weeks, there have been mass deportations and forced migration that have taken place in Pakistan, Sudan, and Nagorno-Karabakh. With America overstretched abroad and unstable at home, China too may sniff an opportunity here. There are currently some tentative signs of rapprochement between Beijing and Washington. In fact, Biden and Xi Jinping are due to meet later this month in California on the sidelines of the APEC summit. But the big picture remains this, that China is intent on displacing the United States as the dominant power in the world. The main focus of Xi Jinping's ambitions are currently towards Taiwan. In fact, the reading in Washington is that Xi has told his military commanders to be ready to invade Taiwan by 2027. That's the year China completes 100 years as an independent nation. In an effort to try and deter China, Biden has repeatedly pledged to defend Taiwan. But with America distracted and divided, Xi might see an opportunity to increase pressure on Taiwan over 2024. Now that would add yet another security crisis, this time in East Asia, and it's not as if the world is already not gripped by what's going on in Europe and in the Middle East. In the picturesque Turkish province of Rize along the Black Sea, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan resolutely voiced his support for Gaza. He has vowed to hold Israel accountable for its actions in Gaza since this war began. Specifically, he vowed to take Israel to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. He even recalled the Turkish ambassador in Tel Aviv for consultations over the weekend. Nevertheless, amidst the tumultuous relationship between Israel and Turkey, the diplomatic connection remains intact, and it shows the resilience of international relations despite this war. Diplomacy often weathers storms, and several nations have demonstrated this by recalling their ambassadors, whether it is Jordan, Bahrain, Bolivia, since this war began. But interestingly, none of these countries have completely cut off diplomatic ties. Even when Egypt withdrew its ambassador on two previous occasions during the Arab-Israeli wars, practical cooperation and security collaboration with Israel still continues. Erdogan's advocacy for the Palestinian cause, particularly his close connections with the Hamas leadership, has long been a source of tension between Turkey and Israel. Even after the full restoration of bilateral ties, which happened about a year and a half ago, Erdogan maintained personal ties with prominent Hamas figures, including the likes of Ismail Haniyeh. Turkey has even thrown its hat in the ring to mediate during the recent Gaza conflict, but Hamas has showed a preference for the involvement of Qatar and Egypt instead of Turkey. Turkey does not merely view itself as a bystander in this entire regional politics. It sees itself as a regional power player with a duty to participate in disputes across the Middle East. Turkey views many of these countries and the fault lines therein as belonging to the erstwhile Turkish community of nations that Turkey used to oversee under the Ottoman and Byzantine Empire. This worldview encompasses a geopolitical vision that Turkey is actively striving to transform into some kind of a reality. It wants to position itself as the architect of a new Middle East. As a result, Turkey has played a pivotal role in various regional conflicts, such as the recent one in Nagorno-Karabakh, the dispute there where it has acted as a mediator between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Turkey's also made significant inroads in Syria, where it has established a military presence, particularly in the northern part of Syria. Also in Libya, for example, Turkey has aligned itself with Qatar to support the government in Tripoli and its long-standing conflict with the Libyan National Army led by General Khalifa Haftar. This support has not only yielded strategic advantages, but also economic benefits. Turkey and Libya have been signing an agreement defining maritime borders that could potentially inflate gas exports from Egypt and Israel into Europe. But Turkey is not confining itself just to its own backyard, just to the West Asian region, as it were. Turkey has assumed a critical role in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine as well. The country has boldly called for the United Nations Security Council to be restructured. It wants to diminish the veto power of the P5 countries. Additionally, Turkey also holds a significant card in the expansion of NATO. It has the authority to approve or even delay the membership of new members into NATO. It's been playing footsie with the membership of Sweden, for example. Erdogan has given his go-ahead, but the Turkish parliament, which his party, the AKP, controls, is playing hardball on Sweden's entry into NATO. With the war in Gaza, Turkey has been actively preparing for the day after the war and its role in shaping the future of Gaza. Approximately 2 weeks into this conflict, Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan presented a political blueprint which was centered on a two-state solution: the deployment of an international peacekeeping force in Gaza and multiple countries serving as guarantors for future diplomatic agreements. Within this framework, Turkey envisions itself as one of the guarantors on the Palestinian side, and it is hoping that other nations will play a similar role on the Israeli side. Although Foreign Minister Fidan did not specify the identity of these other guarantors, it is expected that the United States will be a principal player. Turkey is also astutely surveying the regional landscape. It's actively sought alliances with key players in the Arab world like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates. The strategy aims to establish a unified front against American policies that strongly support Israel. In fact, Turkey recognizes that these Gulf Arab countries may wield far more influence in shaping the rules of the game. Therefore, it wants a seat on the high table. Turkey's involvement extends beyond rhetoric. In fact, Turkey delivered humanitarian aid to Gaza through the airport in Al Arish. It also pledged to host 1,000 Palestinian cancer patients who were evacuated from Gaza to Egypt. In fact, Erdogan himself was quick to declare that Gaza must be part of a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. That is how Recep Tayyip Erdogan has inserted himself and his country into this latest conflict. Turkey may not be on the diplomatic high table just yet of these negotiations, but there is no ruling out what will happen when this war ends. And that is when Ankara is hoping to not just be at the high table, but to be at the head of it.
I hope this has come as a reminder that what is irking people more, the attitude of the Aam Aadmi Party and the Delhi and Punjab governments, who were for the last 1 week denying the impact of farm fires in Punjab over what is transpiring in Delhi.
You see, viewers, I am comparing terror with terror. I am not comparing apples with oranges. I am comparing terrorists with terrorists. We don't want to do that because we are bothered about vote banks.
Gurpatwant Panun is at it again. The global terrorist continues to spew hate against Bharat from foreign soil, and this time he's gone a step further and asked Sikhs not to fly Air India on the 19th of November onwards, calling for a global blockade of the airline from Vancouver to London.
Is that how you explain that educated women have a better shot at population control? Using the words that the Chief Minister used yesterday in the Assembly. That's the way to describe it.
In such a graphic way.
I agree that the words chosen by him were not appropriate.
Finally, one thing what we are all looking to is a joint rally of you and Ashok Gehlot. Possible?
We done many.
No. In a heat industrial elections.
Of course, election में भी हमने पहले भी किया, आगे भी करेंगे. You see, time today is not about personal ambitions. Whether the chair is sticking to me or not sticking to me are important. Important is how the party. It is the party that makes governments. Governments don't make parties. If the party is strong, and today the leaders and this is an assurance that all of us are given in Delhi to Mr. Kharge and to Mr. Gandhi, that we will deliver the state for you. We will work unitedly because people of India need the strong Congress to be seen, and that's our job today. It's not about personal ambitions. Positions, power, आता जाता रहता है. But party is more important and we have to work together. Rajasthan mein, I'm telling you, the mood I've seen across my travels everywhere is that people are now actually willing to give the Congress party second chance. Last time we were in government.
No, but I do see a lot of anger against the ministers and against some of the MLAs rather than against Mr. Gehlot in some pockets.
Well,
you think
there is obviously anti-incumbency थोड़ा बहुत हर जगह होता है. But I'm of the opinion that Rajasthan mein, what we've been able to do is that the BJP has been very inactive for the last 4.5 years. And now they've done Rath Yatra, Jan Akrosh Yatra. Usme na to
and do you feel bad the way they're treating, so to say, used over the Congress words, Vasundhara Raje Scindia?
That's the internal issue. Kisko treat kar rahe, nahi kar rahe, that party is their internal. Hum log, we fought unitedly. We are winning the state elections. And the agenda for right now for us is to give the blueprint for Rajasthan. Make sure people are able to listen to our views, and I think the BJP has also lost the plot. Their internal pulls and pressures are so obvious, and people judge two parties, the future, who's offering what. And in terms of organization, I think we are much better placed in the BJP.
Before I let you go, many of your supporters call you the Vasu or Vasundhara of the Congress party.
She's from a different generation. I think it's wrong to compare. But like I said, what happens in the future, no one knows. And you keep asking these pointed questions. Are you projecting? Are you vying? Are you throwing in yourself out of the race? Yes, sir, these are all questions to be asked after December 3rd. Until December 3rd, we're all working together to make sure the party wins. And I think that's the attitude with which all the leaders are working in.
On the trail with Sachin Pilot, thank you so much for speaking to us. Sachin, because I did speak to a lot of people in Tong, and उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि ये जो लड़ाई आपकी और गहलोत जी के बीच में थी वो बेकार की लड़ाई है. You think on hindsight that maybe those 2 to 3 years were a wasted one?
देखो, लड़ाई किसी की होती नहीं है, और मुझे लगता है कि राजनीति में जिन शब्दों का आप प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, लड़ाई और झगड़ा, ऐसा कभी होता नहीं है. हो सकता है काम करने का तरीका अलग हो सकता है अपने लक्ष्य तक पहुंचने के लिए हाउ टू गेट टू योर एम एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव डिफरेंट पाथ्स, बट अल्टीमेटली जो इश्यूज़ मैंने उठाए थे वो पब्लिक के इश्यूज़ हैं और पार्टी ने उन इश्यूज़ को एक्सेप्ट कर सरकार को डायरेक्ट किया और तभी ये कारण है कि जो पेपर लीक्स को लेकर बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा था, आज भी है, और मैं समझता हूँ किसी को भी अधिकार नहीं है, नो वन हैज़ द राइट टू प्ले विद द फ्यूचर ऑफ आवर यंग जनरेशन। तो वो बच्चे जो लाखों बच्चे मेहनत करते हैं, ट्यूशन पढ़ते हैं, कोचिंग लेते हैं, किराए के मकान में रहते हैं, मेस का खाना खाते हैं, उनके 2 साल 3 साल की मेहनत ख़राब हो जाए, दैट्स अनएक्सेप्टेबल। इसीलिए पार्टी ने कहकर प्रदेश की सरकार से ऐसा कानून बनवाया है जहां पर द प्रोविजन फॉर एनीबडी कॉट इन पेपर लीक्स इज नाउ इनहैंस्ड टू लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट। That's never happened in any other state.
But when you say it's coming a little bit too late, do you think your government should have listened to you earlier?
No, I think there's a time for everything. So many जो issues उठाए थे, the things I raised, I think were pertinent issues, and I'm glad that the party took cognizance of it and made sure that the government takes appropriate steps before the
Party or the CM should.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Happy Dhanteras to all those celebrating. The Diwali festivities have begun and there's more to celebrate because rains in the Indian capital have brought the pollution levels down. We wish you all the health, happiness and prosperity in the world in the year ahead. Also tracking the big stories of the day. The war is being fought between Israel and Hamas, but increasingly it's the US that is coming under attack. Iran says the expansion of this war is quote-unquote inevitable. We'll discuss what this means. Top ministers of India and the US met in New Delhi today. The war overshadowed the conversations, but they also discussed Khalistanis in Canada. In the UK, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak may fire his Home Secretary today. We'll tell you why. In Pakistan, another unique embarrassment. They're out of paper to print passports. In India, the love affair with gold